There might as well very deep in the rugged Yukon wilderness lies an abandoned gold mine forgotten by time. Left to rot and untouched for years, the land holds secrets of the past, whispers of miners who once toiled away chasing fortune and striking it rich or walking away empty-handed. Most people would see a lost cause, a claim too far gone to be worth the effort, but Tony Beets sees potential, never one to back down from a challenge. The king of the Klondike is rolling the dice on a mine that hasn't produced anything in years. It's a massive gamble, but if Tony's hunch is right, there could be untapped riches hidden beneath the surface. What happened to this mine, and more importantly, what will Tony find when he fires up his machines and starts digging? The answer you won't believe it. With gold prices soaring and fuel costs at a rare low, Tony saw an opportunity a lifetime. The old mine had been abandoned for years and most miners wouldn't give it a second glance, but Tony, he had a hunch, a feeling that the old-timers didn't get at all. With nothing to lose and everything to gain, he decided to fire up the machines and take a gamble on what could be a hidden gold jackpot. So I'm really kind of curious to see what kind of values that are in this door. I want to take a sample out of those. Never know, you got just may get a little lucky. With his crew spread thin and production falling short, Tony needed more pay dirt fast. The hunker cut and piggy bank cut had yielded some gold, but not enough to meet his season's targets. That's when he turned his sights on something different. The old-timer tailings, a massive pile of gravel and rocks left behind by miners from another area. Just half a mile from Mike's Tyrrell, Tony spotted what he believed were abandoned tailings sitting right below the remains of an old SLO run. He knew that decades ago miners didn't have the same technology as today, meaning there was a real chance that valuable gold had been left behind. Bringing in his son Kevin, Tony wasted no time. There's quite a bit of history on this hill. Tony said this is the first hill that had mechanical mining in the Klondike. Kevin had never seen this part of their claim before, and even longtime miners on the crew were surprised. Has Tony been sitting on an untapped gold reserve all these years? The only way to find out was to dig. Walking the site, Tony pointed out an old wooden soul box buried beneath the gravel. See that they built that 80 years ago. He explained they ran this hill for gold, but back then they only cleaned out the soul box once a year. That meant one thing: if gold had slipped through the cracks, it could still be hiding in those tailings, and with modern mining equipment, Tony could recover what the old-timers left behind. The thing is what is behind here, what is underneath that nice gravel. So we're going to poke a couple of holes with a drill. And she was being come up this with his gut telling him this was worth the risk. Tony called for an excavator to start digging up a sample. Nobody's done this before, he said. If there's ever a time to check this out, it's today. As the excavator dug deep into the forgotten tailings, the tension among the crew was palpable. Every scoop of dirt carried the weight of decades of uncertainty. Was this site still rich with gold, or had the old-timers truly stripped it clean? The first bucket load was carefully panned, and as the dirt swirled away in the water, tiny glimmers of gold began to emerge. It was a promising sign, but no one dared to celebrate just yet. A closer look revealed something even more shocking. There weren't just a few specks of gold scattered through the sample, it was everywhere. The fine particles caught the sunlight, a golden sheen mixed within the tailings that had been abandoned for decades. This wasn't just leftover scraps. This was potentially a rich, untapped resource that had been sitting right under Tony's nose for 35 years. As the realization sank in, even many, usually the voice of reason, couldn't deny the excitement. The gold was clearly present, and it was running all through the material, a sign that the old-timers had missed far more than expected. The moment was both exhilarating and frustrating. For years, this land had been overlooked, dismissed as nothing more than waste rock. But now, with the first real proof of gold in hand, it was clear that Tony had stumbled onto something big. With visible gold in nearly every pan, there was only one logical next step. It was time to take things to the next level. Run a full-scale test through the wash plant. and see just how much gold was truly left behind. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You see that it's all over. That's gold. I mean, that's a very, very good indicator down there. Tony's plan was simple. Put the tailings through the kiwi plant, a high-efficiency wash plant, and see if the gold was enough to justify a full-scale. His daughter Monica took control of the loader, feeding 100 yards of pay dirt per hour into the plant. Meanwhile, rookie operator Desiree kept the tailings moving, clearing out the fine material as they ran the first official test. Everything seemed to be running smoothly until disaster struck. Suddenly, a sharp metallic crack sliced through the air, a sound no miner ever wants to hear. Within seconds, the once steady operation spiraled into chaos. The massive cell, run the heart of their gold recovery system, lurched forward, throwing everything out of alignment. The plant groaned under the pressure before coming to a dead stop. A snapped cable had triggered the collapse, sending critical components out of position and compromising the entire structure. Dirt and debris piled up in all the wrong places. The steady flow of material came to an abrupt halt, and a sense of urgency rippled through the crew. Every hour of downtime meant a painful financial loss, with Tony bleeding up to $2,000 in lost gold for every 60 minutes the plant wasn't running. And with this site still unproven, this wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a potential disaster. Without hesitation, Tony and his crew jumped into action. First, they needed to stabilize the structure to prevent further damage. The twisted metal beams had to be bent back into place, a new support structure welded on, and the angle of the sole run had to be precisely realigned, or else the plant would be useless. The crew worked relentlessly, cutting, welding, and reinforcing the damaged sections, battling against time and exhaustion. Sparks flew as torches sliced through bent steel, and the smell of burning metal filled that air as they fought to bring the plant back to life. Fun. All we're going to have to do is bend that bar back straight, weld piece back on relatively straight, and then reset the angle on the run. Every passing hour felt like money slipping through their fingers. After 8 grueling hours, the final weld was sealed, the last bolt tightened, and the plant was finally ready to fire back up. The engines roared, the trauma began to spin, and the saw started catching dirt again. Now, with everything back in motion, the real test was about to begin. Would the old tailings finally pay off, or had Tony just wasted an entire day on dirt that wouldn't deliver? After 4 hours of mining, it was time for the moment of truth. Normally, Tony expects at least an ounce of gold per 100 yards to make a site worthwhile, but with these tailings, he could still turn a profit with half that amount. The crew gathered as the weigh-in began. One by one, the numbers climbed. 1.602.5 ounces, 4.2 Oz. The final total, 4.220 of gold, worth $7,400. Tony's hunch had paid off. That meant the old tailings were producing, and per 100 yard, exactly the kind of numbers Tony was looking for. Incredibly, the tailings were producing even better results than their current hill mining operations. That's very doable, Tony said with a grin. That's better than what we're doing up on the hill. Let's get at it. Let's do some more. Against all odds, Tony had turned an abandoned mine into a gold-producing site. The old-timers may have walked away decades ago, but with modern technology and determination, Tony was able to recover the gold they left behind, proving that sometimes the biggest opportunities are hiding in plain sight. And as for how much more gold is buried beneath those old tailings, Tony Beets is just getting started. Want to see more gold? Subscribe now and join the hunt for lost treasures, hidden riches, and legendary gold discoveries.